God has placed us right here, right now for this. This is not taking him by surprise. What a shame it would be to not take full advantage of the opportunity to speak into the lives of students in this area. You know, if we don't, someone will.
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
Welcome back. It is time for another episode in our CyberSense mini-series about AI, generative AI specifically. As we get started, let me remind you to go check out our website, teachereditionpodcast.com, to learn more about the show, to sign up for our newsletter, and also to submit questions for upcoming episodes. You can also find us on social media. We are Teacher Edition Pod on Instagram and TikTok, as well as Teacher Edition Podcast on Facebook. We are also on YouTube as Teacher Edition Podcast, where you can go watch these episodes if you would like. Don't forget that with a quick click of a button, you can share this show with other people, and we hope you'll do that. We all know what it's like to be an educator and to be working so hard, investing and giving and giving and giving. Our heart is that the Teacher Edition podcast will be encouraging and practical and just really that shot in the arm, as they say, as you minister in your classroom or in your position of leadership. You just never know how the show might be a blessing to someone else. So please take a second, even now, right now, and go share it with someone else. For those of you who may be just joining in, we are taking a brief break from our normal interview format to talk about generative AI. This is a mini-series just to step back and look at some of the basics of generative AI. I am not coming with all the answers, and I'm not coming with deep technical explanations. Instead, just simple, practical looks at what generative AI is, how it's impacting us, how we can use it appropriately, and how we can encourage our students to do the same. God has placed us right here, right now for this. This is not taking him by surprise. What a shame it would be to not take full advantage of the opportunity to speak into the lives of students in this area. You know, if we don't, someone will. They need guidance. AI is not going away. Instead, it is what they are going to know. This is what they're going to know for the rest of their lives. We need to gobble up this opportunity to teach them how to use it biblically and in a God-honoring way. But of course, we can only do that if we have some semblance of at least a basic understanding of what it is. So if you haven't already, be sure to check out those first 3 episodes where we talk about terminology, how AI works, some myths and misconceptions, and then also some benefits and some cautions about AI. In today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the most important parts of using generative AI, the prompt. So we're going to talk about prompt engineering. Now, to do this, when I say that term, you may think like hard hat, you may think of blueprints and tools and things like that, because the term prompt engineering sounds rather intense. You know, that's not how I want you to think of it, though. That sounds over the top from what it is. It sounds stressful. It sounds like you have to have a lot of knowledge. Even those kind of things are. I would want to shy away from that too. Instead, I want you to think of it this way. I want you to think of flour and eggs, not flowers, but like flour to bake with, a kitchen, ingredients, maybe a rolling pin, spatulas, bowls. Even if you are a guy listening to this, yes, that could be you in the kitchen, because I want you to think of it more not of an engineer as like an architect, which it is kind of, but I want you to think more there are basics to understand, just as there is in cooking or baking. There are recipes available, so there are tools to help you. But instead of those exact drawings and figures, I want you to think like tweak it till you get it how you want it. Because that's how, have you ever been around someone who's a great baker or a great cook? My grandma was that way. She was amazing in the kitchen. And I don't know that she wrote anything down. I'm not sure that she really had any books. She just knew how to tweak it till she got it how she wanted it. That's how I want you to be with your prompts. It's not an engineer. It's not a blueprint drawing. But instead, we have a whole table full of ingredients, and we're going to throw in just what you need to get it how you want. And you know what? If it doesn't come out exactly how you want it, you tweak it and you do it again. So as we dig into this particular but very, very vital part of AI, let's just do a really quick review. So let's see if you can remember. What is generative AI or generative artificial intelligence? Can you think about it? What are those key parts of that definition that we want to remember? Okay, let me remind you. So generative AI models that create new output or new content, those could be text, images, videos, anything like that, based on the data they are trained on. We've talked about that. And what was the second part? Hopefully you said the prompt from the user. Generative AI responses are unique, conversational, and human-like. So the key is that input, which is that data, that training, but now you're getting that output, and that output is based on that prompt. So they've put in the data, you're waiting for the response, and now the key is that middle part, which is going to be your prompt, what you put into it. Let's review the different steps of how AI works. So do you remember that? There's the data collection, where they're gathering everything they want it to be trained on. They're pre-processing it, where they want to organize it. They want to take out doubles and things like that. Then the training process comes, where it's making predictions, it's getting that response, it's adjusting that response to get exactly what we're looking for. And then there's the validation and testing, where you're giving it that new data, seeing how it handles that, and then you deploy it to the world. This is where you're setting it loose and everyone is trying that out and giving that feedback. We're going to talk a lot more about the uses of AI, but again, I also want to refocus our thinking. And we've talked about that. It's not just that endpoint, right? When used appropriately, AI has the potential to be a personal assistant to you as a teacher. It can also be a personal tutor for your students. So again, it's a starting point, not an endpoint. It is a support, not a solution. You're going to hear me say that over and over because we have to adjust our mindset on this. So go back with me and let's see if we can remember those basic steps of how to use generative AI. There were 4. Do you remember them? The very first one, select your platform or tool. And in our coming episodes, we're going to talk more about those tools. The second one is enter your prompt. That's where we're landing today. The third step is refine the results by refining the prompt. Wow, that's 2 in 3 steps there. And then the 4th step is utilizing the results. So that prompt appears to be important as we see it in 2 of those steps. First putting it in and then refining it. Do you remember what a prompt is? We covered this way back in the first episode. A prompt is the input or instruction given to the generative AI model to generate a response. So it's what you put in. It's the instructions, the input that's given to generate that response. I would say the prompt is the key, right? I'm going to say that over and over and over because it is. That's how you get where you're going. That's how you get to the endpoint that you're looking for. Let's talk about some tips for effective prompting. As I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, many of us are from the Google search generation. So we are very used to just putting in our 5th grade recycling. And we get all these different websites or articles or videos, whatever it may be, about recycling that might be helpful on a 5th grade level. It didn't really create anything for us. It just went in kind of curated a list for us. Well, when you come to something like AI, it's totally different. We're not putting in a prompt like that. We're actually going to talk with it. We're going to be conversational, just like it is conversational with us. And if you can think, it is creating something, not just collecting items for you. That's a difference there. It's not just collecting websites. It's actually going to produce something for you, some content. So here are some tips for effective prompting. First of all, be clear and specific. The more detailed, the more specific, the better the response. And this is, you can include limitations, you can restrict it down to exactly what you want. Be very clear and specific. This is something, as I look at these and work through these, with maybe my personality or maybe being human, I don't know, we kind of feel like, oh, I hate to ask too much. Like we can can maybe beat around the bush a little bit. Could you maybe help with this? We don't typically walk up to someone and say, I am a third grade teacher. I need this and I want that. It rubs us wrong to even talk like that. But that's how you want to talk to AI because it's giving it that very clear and specific instruction. The next one, include context. So you want to include tone, role, audience, things like that. So who is it? I am a fifth grade teacher. I have fifth grade students who read on a fourth grade level. Like you're giving them that very detailed information, giving it that detailed information. Specify your output format. Do you want a list? Do you want a dialogue? Do you want a script? Be sure to include that. Break down those complex requests. So if you were to say something like, define recycling and write a story about it for second graders, probably your definition is going to be woven into the story because that kind of came as one instruction. So you may, if you want a definition and then a story, you might want to say define recycling on a second grade level or that second graders can understand, and then write a story for second graders to read about a child who recycles in her neighborhood or something like that. We're going to give more detail, but you see how I broke down those different requests? Provide reference materials. This is something we often forget as well, that you can give resource materials. So you can say, here is a source I have. It's a document. It's an image. It's a website. And again, back to the underlying understanding that you want to be really careful of who owns that. If it's copyrighted, if it's someone else's picture, all those things we want to take into consideration as we do that. But saying, here is a spreadsheet. You don't have to type all that in. If you have a website that you're looking at and you want review questions from it, you don't have to go pull the information, copy and paste and put it in there. You can say, I would like 10 review questions from this website at a fifth grade level. And it will get that for you as long as you give it that website, give it that document. Then follow up as needed. You want to refine that prompt. So you're going to clarify, you're going to restate, you're going to rephrase. Okay, now let's go back through and I want to take these tips. So there are, 6 of them. I want to break them down and give you an example of each because these are going to be really key. Remember, AI is like a young intern. We've all had those student teachers or interns, and they really, really want to help. Please, can I do that? Please, can I write this for you? Please, can I grade that for you? Can I pull this for you? Can I give you insights on this? And it's right there for us. And we have to say, okay, here's something you can do for me. And we give very specific instructions, right? We've also had that opportunity to work with someone where we didn't give clear instructions and it didn't quite turn out like we had hoped for. It wants to help, but it needs that guidance. Okay, so here's how you can give guidance. The very first one was be clear and very specific. So again, more detail is a better response. If you're vague, your response is going to be very unpredictable. It's hard to tell what you might get. State the job that you want done, and of course, include those limitations. So an example of something maybe we would type in Google, tell me about animals. It's going to give us all these animal websites. Is that an effective prompt? Why or why not? So no matter where you are listening to this, maybe you can just speak right back to me. Is that clear and specific? Before AI, we might have thought that was pretty good. With AI, no, not so much. So here's a better prompt. Tell me about the habitat and diet of elephants in the wild. Do you see how I made it very specific? I want to know about habitats and diets of what animal and where. And then I could continue, of course, to go on and tell what age level, what kind of activities I want. I can add to all of that. Instead of tell me about the American Revolution, you could say, please give me a 1-paragraph summary of the causes of the American Revolution on a level that a third grader could understand. Okay, so I'm giving it very, very specific. By the way, I was in some prompt engineering training, and something they recommended that might be helpful for you, especially if you're kind of trying to figure out how to talk to it this way, is to use your microphone. So some people, when they go to typing, they fall kind of back into that Google search type of format. If you speak it, sometimes you will become more conversational. And they actually did this in the training. So they had people write their prompts, and they were getting back some funny things, and it just wasn't what they were looking for. And they actually went around with a microphone that was attached to the computer and said, tell it what you want. And it was amazing how the human came out, and they started actually speaking and saying, I am this, I am looking for that. Please make this, create that. And all of a sudden, it was just magic how it appeared and how what results they were getting just were transformed because they were actually speaking to it more like they would if you were in a normal conversation. So just a little tip there as you're trying these, you might want to try just pushing the little audio, the speech to text button and try talking it so your brain can kind of connect more that conversational style instead of just that the Google search terms. Okay, the next tip, we talked about being clear and specific. The next one is include context. So you're going to set the scene. Who is AI? What role is it playing? Also, what tone do you want it to be? What format? Do you want a really friendly tone? Do you want more of a very structured tone? You can include all of that. So here is a sample of a prompt. Tell me about photosynthesis. Okay. I think your results are not probably going to be what you're looking for, but here's a better prompt. Create an interactive lesson on photosynthesis that fifth grade students would understand. Do you see how I gave it the context? I need a lesson. Who is my audience? And I'm giving those specific details. How about something like, imagine you are a history teacher explaining the causes of World War I to middle school students. What would you say? And it's going to give you those ideas. Do you see how it's okay? I've seen prompts that are, they're not just this long. They can be pages long, actually. Okay, the next tip that we talked about was specify the output format. So how should it be organized? What style are you looking for? Do you want a list? Do you want a paragraph? Do you want a dialogue? Okay, here's an example. What are the highlights of the life of George Washington? Okay, I could give that to you, but here's a better prompt. Create an interview-style script between an interviewer and George Washington, highlighting key events of his life. See, it was very specific. Maybe give 5 reasons why recycling is so important. Put them in bullet points. Okay, so it's going to make that list for you. The next one, break down complex requests. So if it's multiple points, or multiple parts, be sure to structure it step by step. Or ask it for output in stages. So maybe ask for the definition, get that, then ask for the activity, get that, and go at it that way. Otherwise, it's going to put all those probably into one. So here's an example. Tell me how recycling works and write a story about it. Okay, so I'm probably going to get those mixed together, how it works within the story. I could break it down better like this. First, explain how recycling works. Then write a short story where 3rd grade students recycle in their community. See how I divided those out? So breaking down those complex requests. The next one, follow up as needed. It will adjust based on your feedback, and don't feel bad about that. I don't know, there's a human side to me that if it tells me something, I'm like, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'll figure it out. And you just tend to walk away. You don't need to do that. Follow up with it as needed. Ask for it to provide examples or give comparisons. Use reference material. Say, you know what, can you pull from this instead of just the general knowledge it's pulling from? Ask it to rephrase. Ask it to break it up. Okay, so you've given it something. It gives you a result you don't like. What is the wrong answer? To just walk away and blame AI. Nope, we're not going to do that. Instead, here being an example of a follow-up to a response. Could you expand that answer? Explain it as if I was a 4th grader and include 5 examples. See how I came back with additional requests for it? How about provide a review of this book like a casual blog post, similar to something I would find, and maybe you give your favorite website. Because again, it's referring to all this different data, all these different documents and websites. Okay, so those are our tips. So first, be clear and specific. Include context, including the tone, role, and audience. Specify your output format. Break down those complex requests and provide reference materials. And of course, following up as needed. An overarching rule of thumb is assume your prompt needs work, not the platform. With technology, we have, this isn't working, forget it, I'll go figure it out. And we walk away from it. In this case, don't walk away. Just adjust your prompt, and I think you'll get a much, much, much better response if you will just stick to it. Okay, As we wrap up this episode, here are a few short practices for you. A teacher wants to inspire creative writing with leadership among 5th grade students. What would be a prompt that they could put in? A teacher wants to inspire creative writing with some type of leadership tone or example among 5th grade students. What could they ask for? Here's a strong prompt. Generate a list of 5 imaginative writing prompts for 5th grade students based on a leadership theme. Each prompt should include character development and problem solving. Okay, so it's telling me what I want and what it should include, as well as for what age. Here's another one. Here's your scenario. A teacher wants to create a class motto about doing what is right, being kind, and being respectful. What is a prompt that teacher could use? Here's an idea. Write 3 simple, student-friendly class mottos that promote students choosing to do what is right, being kind to one another, and respecting one another and the school. Okay, so this is what the teacher is asking AI to write me 3 simple, student-friendly class mottos. So let's say it does come back with something. They are these long statements with complex wording, because if you notice there, it says student-friendly. It doesn't say what age my students are or how long these mottos need to be. So maybe I could go back to it and say, hey, could you make those rhyme? Could you make them a short sentence? I could go back and refine that prompt. This would be a stronger prompt. Write 3 simple, student-friendly class mottos that promote students choosing to do what's right, being kind to one another, and respecting one another in the school. Each motto should rhyme or be easy to memorize. You see how that was hopefully an upgrade and get a better response. Here's another scenario. A teacher is planning a lesson on animal habitats for 2nd grade with ELL in the room. So we have some English language learners in the room. We're planning a lesson on habitats for 2nd grade. What would be a prompt? Are you thinking of one? Here's an example. Create a 2nd grade science lesson on animal habitats that includes visuals and simplified language to support English language learners. Include an interactive activity to check understanding. So I explained what my students need, what I am looking for, and what I want to receive. Another scenario, a teacher wants to modify a writing prompt for students who are below grade level. Okay, so I have the prompt, but I want to bring that down a little bit to their level. An example of a strong prompt would be rewrite this writing prompt for a 3rd grade student who is reading at a 1st grade level. And the prompt is, write about a time when you felt very confused. I could see how that might need to be leveled down. Use simpler vocabulary and include sentence starters. Okay, so I'm asking it to rewrite, I give it the prompt, and I tell it what I need it to do. Bring it down to 1st grade level by using simpler vocabulary and some sentence starters. Okay, just a couple more. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this. A teacher needs enrichment ideas for kindergarten students who finish early. Does anyone have some fast finishers? AI can help you with that. So here's a prompt. Suggest 10 creative, low-cost, low-prep enrichment activities for kindergarten students who finish their work early. What do you think might be the problem? What is missing from that prompt that might be really important? Okay, let's imagine that some of those results come back and maybe they are doing a scavenger hunt around the room. Maybe they are tagging objects. Maybe they do some baking or they're making animal noises. Okay, that might be a little disruptive. So maybe a stronger prompt would be something like, suggest 10 creative, low-cost, low-prep enrichment activities for kindergarten students who finish their work early. The activities should be quiet, independent work. Activities should focus on math or reading. Do you see how I hone that in? Let's focus on math or reading and make them quiet or independent. Those are just a few examples to hopefully get you thinking about how to build your prompts. Don't be afraid to include as much information, as many directives as possible. So now it's your turn. I want to challenge you to pull up a tool such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, whichever one you use or maybe would like to try out. Just choose one, and I want you to try out a prompt. Again, you may want to speak it. So if you have a possibility on your computer or the feature on your phone where you can do speech to text, try it. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to rephrase and to reject and regroup. That's okay. That's what AI is there for. That's all part of getting those best results. By the way, we have talked all things prompting today, but all that being said, as we talk about AI tools in the next session, you're going to see that so many of these have incredible teacher tools available. Those tools are using AI, and simply speaking, they've already built the strong prompt for you. They are just looking for you to add those specific details. So for example, if you wanted a rubric, there are AI rubric tools. They have already done much of the prompting for you. What format, the breakdown, the scoring, all of that. All they need you to do is add the details. What project or what assignment, maybe how long something needs to be, the timing of something, the total points, things like that need to come from you. So if you can find a tool for what you need, just use it. But regardless, I wanted you to have insights on prompting. So whether you can create your own or you're going to use a tool to get you started, you can understand how prompting works and how you can work to get the very best results from your use of generative AI. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Coming up in our next episode is a look at AI tools that are kind of the neon lights of education right now, and you do not want to miss out. As we wrap up, just a reminder to go to teachereditionpodcast.com to learn more about the show and to submit questions for upcoming episodes. Of course, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and go follow us on social media. Now it's time to get back to your day. But it's not just any day. Every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power, also through His grace working in you. Now, go do what God has called you to do.